Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're talking all about cars in this intermediate level lesson.
That's right. We have a little bit of problems with our car, and we're going to talk about some possible solutions to these car problems we have. So why don't we just listen to the dialogue today? We have no words on vocabulary preview, so let's jump right into the dialogue and listen for the first time.
Car Trouble Center, how may I help you?
My car won't start. Stupid old car.
Hold on. Before you kick your car, let's go through some possible problems.
Fine.
Okay, first of all, can you turn the key in the ignition?
Yeah, I'm here with my friend, and he thinks it may be the spark plug or the starter motor.
Those are possible problems, but tell me, when you turn the key, do you hear the starter motor crank?
Yeah, it sounds like it usually does when I start the car, but nothing else happens. The engine won't start. Should I maybe press the accelerator?
No. If you step on the accelerator pedal, you can flood the carburetor and your car will never start.
So what do you think it is?
I know this may seem like a silly question, but does your car have gasoline?
Yeah. Right. I got the car started. Thanks for your help. I told you to fill the tank.
Okay, so this dialogue reminds me a lot of a radio show in America called Car Talk. And the hosts of the show, like Marco and I today, they talk about how to solve problems, and they ask you questions to find out what the problem is. So it's a really helpful show, but let's take a look at some of the phrases and words that you heard so we can understand what exactly is going on here.
Language takeaway.
All right, so today on Language Takeaway, we have 5 words, and they're all very specific to the car. So why don't we start with the first word? It's a noun, and we are talking about the ignition.
Ignition. The ignition is the first step to... The ignition is a part of the first step to starting a car. Basically, under the wheel of the car, the steering wheel, there's usually a silver hole where you can put the key in. Mm-hmm. This is the ignition. It starts the car.
Exactly. So you put the key in the ignition and you can start the car. And to start the car means to turn it on, to get it going.
That's right. And so ignition is the first step. Starting the ignition.
Okay, so moving on to our next word, we have a word that's formed by 2 different parts. A spark plug. A spark plug.
Spark plug. So a spark plug is an electrical object. Basically, this has to do with electricity and the way that the car gets energy.
So it's called a spark plug because it creates a spark, which is a brief burst of current. So this basically creates a small spark of electricity, and this makes the gasoline ignite, so that's what makes the car go.
Right, so energy is taken from the battery to start a small fire, basically, so which then starts the engine. Spark plug. It's a very small but very important part of a car.
Very good. And moving on, we have the starter motor.
Okay, to be very honest with you, I'm not a car person, so I'm not sure what the starter motor is. Maybe you can explain this to us, Marco.
Okay, so basically your car runs on gasoline, right? So you put your key into the ignition and you turn it, right? This in turn sends energy to this little motor called a starter motor. And that basically gets the car going by means of an electrical current before the gasoline ignites. So it's like a little electrical motor that makes the spark plug ignite and causes some of the mechanical parts like the pistons move within the car, and then it turns on.
Okay, so again, this is all about the beginning of when we turn the key in the ignition, what happens. This is a starter motor. So once we've turned the car on, we've turn the key in the ignition, we have to worry about giving the car gas. So we can control gas with the accelerator pedal.
So by saying you want to give the car gas is you want to give it more energy, more power, or less energy, right?
Right. So if I want to go very fast, I push my foot down on the accelerator, and the further down it goes, the faster I move.
Exactly. So that's the accelerator. Now, the opposite of making the car go would make the car stop, and those are called
Brakes.
brakes. Okay.
So on the left, we have a brake pedal, and on the right, we have an accelerator pedal.
Very good. Okay, and talking about acceleration and gas, we have a very specific mechanical object, and that's called a carburetor.
Okay, again, carburetor. I know that this is under the hood of my car, but I'm not sure what it does. Let's talk about this.
All right, so it's not very common to have a carburetor anymore in new cars, but basically it's a small device that controls the flow of gasoline from the gas tank to the engine. And basically what it does, it makes the gasoline into a type of very thin mist, and that's what that way the gasoline can ignite easier. So the further down you push your foot on the accelerator, the wider the little gap or the hole will open on the carburetor, and that way your car will go faster.
All right, very good. So that's all we've got for language takeaway today, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second with Fluency Builder.
Car Trouble Center, how may I help you?
My car won't start. Stupid old car.
Hold on. Before you kick your car, let's go through some possible problems.
Fine.
Okay, first of all, can you turn the key in the ignition?
Yeah, I'm here with my friend, and he thinks it may be the spark plug or the starter motor.
Those are possible problems, but tell me, when you turn the key, do you hear the starter motor crank?
Yeah, it sounds like it usually does when I start the car, but nothing else happens. The engine won't start. Should I maybe press the accelerator?
No. If you step on the accelerator pedal, you can flood the carburetor and your car will never start.
So what do you think it is?
I know this may seem like a silly question, but does your car have gasoline?
Yeah. Right. I got the car started. Thanks for your help. I told you to fill the tank.
All right, we're back. So now why don't we take a look at 4 key phrases that we have for you on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase. So you heard the phrase at the beginning, Car Trouble Center. But Car Trouble Center, that's maybe the name of a fake company that we use. But the phrase car trouble is very, very common.
So if you say, I'm having car trouble or I had some car trouble, what does that mean?
That means my car broke.
Okay. So
But you don't say my car broke. This is one thing that can't break because normally you say I'm having trouble or I'm having car trouble because a part of my car is not working.
Okay. So instead of saying I'm having problems with my car or my car broke, you just say I had car trouble or I'm having car trouble.
That's right. So this is a really good excuse for coming to work late. You can say, oh, I'm so sorry. I was having car trouble this morning.
Right. So any type of problems with your car can be considered car trouble. Flat tire, no battery, etc.
Etc. Yes.
Okay. Now moving on, we have a very interesting verb here. We heard when the guy was talking about the starter motor, he said, do you hear the starter motor crank?
Okay, to crank. So this is a very interesting verb. It can also be a noun. It's a sound, okay, but it's also a movement. So when something turns around in a circle, dunk, 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 maybe you think of a metal wheel, dunk, dunk, that's a crank. So sometimes we talk about those old cars, 1910s, 1920s, the first Ford cars. You had to crank them in the front. You had to actually turn with your hand a wheel to make the car start.
Right.
So this is a crank.
Exactly. You can hear this in your car. Maybe if your car doesn't have gasoline, you hear the tick, 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 tick. That's the starter motor cranking.
So it's going around in circles, trying to create energy.
Exactly. And now when the guy was talking about the accelerator and he was talking about the carburetor, he said, no, don't step on that pedal because you can flood the carburetor. So to flood.
Okay. To flood. This is a verb. Maybe you've heard the word flood before as a noun, but this means to fill something with liquid, with gasoline, with water, with milk. So to flood something is to fill it up with a liquid.
Okay, very good. So you can flood a dam, for example, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Or in this case, you can flood a carburetor, which means it won't work because it's all wet.
Okay, very good. And the last phrase that we have very handy when you're talking about cars is to fill the tank.
Okay, this is always a problem at my house because I hate to fill the tank.
Really?
And so, yeah, whenever my car's in the driveway and someone in my family asks if they can borrow it, I say, yeah, sure. And then obviously an hour later they come back and say, why don't you ever fill the tank? It's empty. You have no gas. And I say, well, I hate to fill the car with gas. And so I always have an empty tank. So I never fill the tank.
Okay, so that's what it means. To fill the tank is to have it full of gasoline.
Right, to put gasoline into your gasoline tank.
Okay, very good. Why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue for the last time, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Car Trouble Center, how may I help you?
My car won't start. Stupid old car.
Hold on. Before you kick your car, let's go through some possible problems.
Fine.
Okay, first of all, can you turn the key in the ignition?
Yeah, I'm here with my friend, and he thinks it may be the spark plug or the starter motor.
Those are possible problems, but tell me, when you turn the key, do you hear the starter motor crank?
Yeah, it sounds like it usually does when I start the car, but nothing else happens. The engine won't start. Should I maybe press the accelerator?
No. If you step on the accelerator pedal, you can flood the carburetor and your car will never start.
So what do you think it is?
I know this may seem like a silly question, but does your car have gasoline?
Yeah. Right. I got the car started. Thanks for your help. I told you to fill the tank.
All right, we're back. So, talking about cars and car trouble, I understand, for example, in some countries, when you're getting a driver's license, you're forced or obliged to learn a little bit of car mechanics. You have to learn about the engine or how to change a tire and basic things like this.
That's a brilliant idea. In America, you don't have to know how to fix your car. You have to know how to pay someone to fix your car. But basically, we only learn the rules of the road. So the signs and the basic rules.
Really?
Yeah, but I think it would be very helpful to know how to fix a tire or how to change the oil in your car. I mean, is this a requirement in Ecuador?
Yeah.
Really?
When you're getting your driver's permit, your driver's license, you have to take a course which shows you the mechanics of the car, first aid course, and also basic road rules and all that stuff. But basically, because it can be something very simple, like for example, they show you where the battery is, where you can check the oil and basic things like this. So maybe the little cable from the battery just came loose, and that's why your car won't start.
Yeah.
So instead of you waiting for 2 hours until somebody comes and picks you up or a tow truck, you can just check very briefly basic things that can maybe go wrong in your car, and you can just go on your way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I had my dad for that.
You would
My
tell
dad
your
said, I'm not going to have a little girl who doesn't know how to change a tire or who doesn't know how to check the oil levels. So, yeah, but not everybody has a parent who will teach them.
Right. No, and it's very handy because, for example, you get a flat tire. And sometimes, cars can be a little bit tricky. The wheel nuts are sometimes covered by a plastic cover, so you don't know how to take it off. There's a special tool for that. Or the jack. Sometimes the jack is not the normal one that you have to pump up and down. It's a little one that you have to turn a lever and you have to do this. So it's very, very useful to know these things.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know if our listeners out there have experience with cars and car mechanics. And if you have this rule, like Marco says they have in Ecuador, about learning about cars before you actually get your driver's license.
Yeah.
Let us know on our website, englishpod.com. We hope to see you there.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Look at something in a careful way. Go through. A device to start up the car. Ignition. Electrical device that ignites the gas by electric. Spark plug. An electric motor for starting an engine. Starter motor. To start an engine, motor, etc. Crank. The device which helps cars get running. Engine. A pedal that controls the throttle valve. Accelerator. Mixes air with gasoline vapor prior to explosion. Carburetor.
Let's try that faster.
An electric motor for starting an engine. Starter motor. A pedal that controls the throttle valve. Accelerator. Look at something in a careful way. Go through. A device to start up the car. Ignition. To start an engine, motor, etc. Crank. Electrical device that ignites the gas by electric. Spark plug. The device which helps cars get running. Engine. Mixes air with gasoline vapor prior to explosion. Carburetor.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Ignition. He turned the key in the ignition and the truck roared to life. Ignition. His new car has a keyless ignition system. Ignition. I put the keys into the boat's ignition switch and turned it on. Spark plug. The mechanic took a look at my car and said that the spark plug needed to be replaced. Spark plug. Tens of thousands of volts travel down the spark plug to ignite the fuel. Spark plug. I checked everything, including the spark plug, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with your car. Starter motor. The motor turned the crank, which started the machine. Starter motor. The starter motor in my car is defective. Starter motor. I ripped the cord on the boat's motor and started to travel across the lake. Crank. In the olden days, people had to manually crank the engine for the car to start. Crank. Nowadays, a motor cranks the engine in order to start the car. Crank. This time, the starter motor finally cranked when I turned the key. Engine. Can you start the engine about 5 minutes before we're supposed to leave? Engine. The engine sputtered and then it died. Engine. I can hear my engine straining in its old age.
Hello, English learners, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine, and today we have another episode of our interview series lessons.
That's right. Today we're taking a look at a very important aspect of an interview. We're talking about salary and money.
That's right. So this is the end of the interview when we're starting to talk about details of the job. Let's check this out, listen to the dialogue one time, and when we come back, we'll be talking more about what's going on.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
Could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course. That's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
All right, we're back, so let's take a look at a couple of words and phrases on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, so this first phrase is a set phrase. That means these words often go together. The phrase is remuneration package.
That's right, a remuneration package. Rebecca said, could I first ask about the remuneration package?
So what's an easier way to say this, Marco?
I guess basically the salary.
That's right. But a package means that it's not just money, it's also some of the benefits or the bonuses. So this is a way to describe how a person is paid in general.
That's right. So the remuneration package that Rebecca is being offered, Mr. Parsons said that she would get a starting salary of $150,000 per annum.
Okay, so this phrase, starting salary, is another fixed phrase. We have a lot of these today. That means these two words go together, starting salary. So salary is easy. It's the amount of money you make either per month or per week or per year. Mm-hmm. But what is a starting salary? How is that different?
Well, basically, that's the money that you would start earning in the company. But obviously, with time, it could change and you can get more money.
So this means that you will start making this much money, but it's possible that in the future you will make more. This is the starting salary.
That's right. And well, of course, as we said, it's $150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. So now we're specifying how often you're getting this money per annum.
So if it were per month, this might be a lot of money.
That's right.
But this is how much money she will earn per year, per annum. This comes from Latin.
Mm-hmm, that's right. So per year. So this is the remuneration package she's getting. Not only is she getting $150,000 per annum, she's also getting a housing allowance.
Okay, so many of us had allowances when we were children. This means the money that your parents gave you each week, $5 or $10. Mm-hmm. Well, a housing allowance is a little bit different. It means the money that your company gives you per month or per year to pay for your apartment or your house.
That's right. So obviously the company is saying that, look, we're going to give you a certain amount of money for you to pay for your house. You don't have to really pay for your house. We'll pay for it.
So basically, it's a benefit. It's a part of this remuneration package. You get a salary and you get money for your house. It's a pretty nice deal.
That's right. And well, also she's getting health insurance, and she is also being offered a company staff bonus scheme.
Okay, bonus scheme. A bonus is something extra. Mm-hmm. It's on top of what you normally get. But a bonus scheme indicates that the bonus changes according to how well you do.
That's right. So obviously he's specifying that the bonus scheme is linked to readership numbers.
So let's say, for example, Marco sells newspapers. Marco, you sell on a good week 100 newspapers. Mm-hmm. If you sell 150, you get a bonus of $10.
That's right.
But if you sell 200 newspapers, you get a bonus of $50.
That's right.
This is a scheme. The numbers change.
Very good. So all of this that we've just talked about, to be clear, is our remuneration package. We're talking about a salary. We're talking about a housing allowance, health insurance, and even a bonus scheme. So a package can include these things and much, much more. CEOs get bigger remuneration packages.
They do. And if you have children, sometimes a part of your package is education costs for your children, or a car, or computers, things like that.
That's right. So a lot of great stuff there, talking about salaries and, well, a little bit of negotiating it. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue again, and we'll be back in a bit.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
Could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course. That's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
All right, so now let's take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
So at the beginning of the dialogue, Rebecca is talking to Mr. Parsons about the job, and she says, I don't really have that many questions, but when I talked to Miss Childs about the job over the phone, there were some things she wanted to clarify. So how did she talk to her? She talked to her over the phone.
That's right. So this is a really good phrase to specify that you received information or you did business talking on the phone, not in person.
Okay, so this is a bit strange because we use the preposition over. Mm-hmm. You could also say, I'm on the phone. That means I'm talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. But over the phone means by phone.
That's right.
Not by mail or email or in person, but we communicate, we talk over the phone, by phone.
So sometimes, for example, people will see a TV commercial with a nice item or device that they want to buy, and they will purchase this object, maybe a DVD player, over the phone. They will call up this number and order it.
That's right. Or you can say, I'm really sorry, Marco, but I don't feel comfortable talking about my banking details over the phone.
That's right. Okay, so that means on the phone. So then Mr. Parsons said, feel free to ask me anything. Okay, feel free to ask me anything about the job.
Okay, this is a phrase that I use all the time, and I think it's really important when you're in a business context or a work context to say, listen, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. It means don't hesitate. Don't be nervous. If you have a question, just ask it.
That's right. So feel free to ask. Don't worry about it. Just ask me. It's a very good phrase to give someone or to make someone feel more comfortable around.
Exactly.
All right. And he said that I'll try to fill in the details.
Okay, so this is an interesting phrase because fill in, on a form, for example, means put your name in a box or fill in some numbers. But here, the details, we think maybe I don't know what the details are. So to fill them in means to fill in gaps or some blanks. So I don't know all the details. Please tell me the information so that I will know them.
That's right. So what he's basically saying is, I know that you have an idea or a general overview of how things are, but if you ask me, I can tell you more specific things. That's fill in the details.
Or for example, we're going to a party on Saturday night, but I don't know where the party is yet. How about on Friday, I call you to fill you in on the details.
Very good. Okay, so those are the phrases that we've prepared for you today. I think we've taken a look at a lot of great vocab. Why don't we listen to the dialogue one last time, and we'll be back to talk to you a little bit more.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
Could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course. That's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
All right, so talking about salaries and remuneration packages. Now, is this a common word to talk about remuneration?
Yes, it is. It basically means the way that you are paid for the work that you do. So remuneration, it sounds like a big, long word. But in America, I think we also just talk about salary or compensation.
Compensation packages. Okay, so now when we talk about remuneration, we don't necessarily always talk about money, like in this case, right? We can receive other benefits.
That's right. And so a lot of times people think of the important parts of remuneration not just to be the salary, but also to be the benefits. And so benefits are not the money, they're the other stuff. They're healthcare. We said earlier, a housing allowance, even bonuses and things like that, or education for your children. These are extras, and these are a part of the package.
Now, what would you prefer? To have a good remuneration package, like these other additional benefits, with a low salary? Or would you prefer to have a high salary with not many of these benefits?
Well, I think that it's nice to get the benefits and a lower salary, because oftentimes at a company, like a big company, the company can get really good rates on healthcare. So if I have to pay for my healthcare with my big salary, maybe it will cost me more money. But if my company pays with the company rate, that means the amount that they pay, then maybe they can help me pay for these things much cheaper. And so in the end, I make more money.
Yeah. Actually, I've heard some companies that offer great remuneration packages. Like if you have children, as you said, they would pay for their education. But many times they would even pay for their childcare, like maybe a nanny. Some of the managers would receive maybe a fuel bonus, so they would get, I don't know, $200 extra a month for fuel for their car if they drive to work. I think companies can get a little bit creative, and it's not that much that they're actually spending, but you take it as to being a really good benefit.
Well, that's right. And it makes you more, I think, happy to work for that company because you feel like they're taking care of you. Not just they're giving you money. They're actually taking care of you and your family.
That's right. So we're actually a little bit curious to know if how remuneration packages work in your company or maybe in your country.
That's right. So please let us know. You obviously don't have to tell us how much money you earn.
Dear English learners, before we begin, I want to ask for a small favor. Please tell us in the comments what you think about the stories on this channel. Do you enjoy them? Do they help you learn in a natural way while you listen and relax? Or would you prefer only conversations and short lessons? Your voice matters. If many of you say you do not like stories, I will stop adding them in future videos and focus on what helps you most. If you like them, I will continue and make them even better. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. I arrived in the city with one heavy bag and a pocket full of small hopes. The station was bright and noisy. People rushed in every direction, pulling suitcases, looking at screens, talking into phones. A small coffee stand sent out a sweet smell that mixed with the smell of wet pavement. It had rained a little, and the floor shone under the white lights. I stood still for a few seconds to breathe. I told myself, you wanted this change. You asked for this life. Take the first step. My apartment was on the 3rd floor of an old building. The stairs were narrow, the handrail was smooth from many hands, and the paint on the walls peeled like long, tired leaves. My place was small. A single bed, a small wardrobe, a wooden desk with a scratch in the middle, and a window that looked down to a busy street. At night, I could hear buses breathing, laughter from a bar at the corner, and my neighbor's television playing a late show. Sometimes he laughed loudly, and it made me smile because someone close to me was happy, even if I did not know him. On the first night, I could not sleep. I ironed my best shirt 3 times. I polished my shoes until the leather shone like a dark mirror. I stood in front of the small bathroom mirror and practiced my introduction. Hello, my name is James. Nice to meet you. I tried to say it with calm, with confidence, with a friendly smile that did not look forced. The mirror was not kind, but I kept trying. When I finally turned off the light, the city continued moving around me. Cars passed. A taxi horn called once and then again. Somewhere a dog barked. I listened and waited for sleep like a guest who arrives late. In the morning, I woke up before the alarm. The sky was pale and the room was cool. I made tea and ate bread with jam. My hands were a little unsteady, so I moved slowly and carefully. I left early and walked to the bus stop with my bag across my shoulder. The bus arrived with a soft sigh. I found a seat near the window and watched the city open around me. Wide streets, glass buildings, small trees planted in perfect lines, people walking fast with coffee cups and serious faces. The bus crossed a bridge, and for a moment I saw the river like a gray ribbon that cut the city into two calm halves. The office building was made of glass and steel. The lobby was high and bright. The floor reflected everything like still water. Big posters showed smiling teams and short promises about the future. I wiped my palms on my pants and told myself to breathe. A woman in a dark blue suit walked toward me with a kind smile. "You must be the new assistant," she said. "I'm Sophia." Her voice was calm and warm. I felt the knot in my chest loosen. She gave me a badge, led me through the open office, and pointed to a desk near a window. There was a modern computer, a clean chair, a lamp with a soft light, and a small plant with round leaves in a white pot. I sat down slowly, trying not to look like a visitor in a museum. Sophia explained a few basic things. She showed me the share drive. She showed me how to book a meeting room and where to find the style guide. She moved quickly but clearly. I took notes in a small blue notebook. I wrote short lines, one under the other, like a child. Email tone, friendly, clear, short. Calendar, 24-hour format. Report names, date first, then topic. My handwriting looked careful and a little afraid. When Sophia finished, she smiled again. "Take your time today," she said. "Ask questions. We all start somewhere." During lunch, I walked around the block. The sun was warm on my face. A food truck sold sandwiches, and the smell of grilled onions filled the air. I bought a simple one with tomatoes and cheese, and I ate on a bench. People passed in front of me with different kinds of walking. Fast, slow, heavy, soft, long steps, small steps. 2 children ran around a tree and laughed as if the tree told them a secret. I felt light for a moment and then heavy again. "You can do this," I said to myself. "You just need time." The first week was not easy. On the second day, I tried to print a document, but I pressed the wrong button and 10 pages of numbers came out like a gray waterfall. I pressed more buttons. The machine stopped. I felt my ears burn. A man with kind eyes appeared. "Happens to everyone," he said. "I'm David." He opened a small door, pulled out a crumpled page, and the printer sighed with relief. "There," he said. "Now it's your friend." I laughed, and the sound of my laugh surprised me. It was small but real. At lunch, I usually sat alone. People in groups talked about movies, gym plans, a dog who ate a shoe, a child who refused to sleep. I listened and learned the rhythm of their voices. On Thursday, a woman with curly hair waved at me. "Come sit with us," she said. Her name was Clara. She asked me where I came from. I told her about my small hometown with its quiet streets, the train that crossed the fields, the little bakery where I used to buy bread on Sundays. She listened as if every detail was a gift. "The city can be loud," she said, "but it can also be kind if you move with it, not against it." In the evenings, I cooked simple meals, rice, lentils, eggs, carrots. I cut everything slowly on the small board. I washed the same pot again and again until it looked like mine, not the landlord's. After dinner, I opened the window and leaned on the cool frame. The street below was a river of lights. People walked with different stories inside them. I could not see their faces well, but I could feel their lives. I thought about my day and wrote 3 lines in my blue notebook, learned print settings, sent first email without a mistake, met Clara. Then I drew a small square next to each line and filled it with ink. The dark squares made me feel steady, as if I was building a road one stone at a time. The second week, I noticed the rhythm of the office. Mornings were quick and noisy. Phones rang. Printers sang. Chairs rolled. Around noon, the sound softened. After 3, it grew again like a wave until 5, when deadline stood up and shouted. I carried my notebook everywhere and wrote short instructions. Sometimes my hand shook, but the letters stayed straight. I tried to remember names. I tried to memorize passwords. I tried to speak less and listen more. On Tuesday, Sophia asked me to prepare a short presentation for a team update. The word presentation echoed in my head like a bell in a large room. I had never presented to a group like this. Yes, I said. My voice sounded calm, but my heart ran in circles. I opened the software and looked at old slides for examples. I chose clear colors, simple fonts, and pictures that supported the points. I wrote short sentences and tested each one aloud. I stood in an empty meeting room and practiced. The lights hummed. The clock ticked too loud. I started again. I breathed. I found a slower rhythm, like walking up a hill one step at a time. The day I presented, 10 people watched me with quiet faces. I put my hands on the table for a second to steady them, then began. The first sentence came out soft, but the second felt stronger. I moved my eyes from left to right, so everyone felt included. I explained the numbers, the dates, the plan. I kept the language simple. When I finished, there was a short silence like a held breath. Then Sophia clapped once, and others followed. "Good work," she said. 2 simple words. They felt heavy in a good way, like a medal in a pocket. After that, walking to the bus stop felt different. The city lights looked closer. The pavement felt friendly under my shoes. A bakery near the station released a warm smell, and I bought bread even though I did not plan to. I held the bag and felt the heat through the paper, and it felt like I was carrying a small, kind sun. Not all days were bright. One morning my alarm did not ring. I woke up 30 minutes late. I dressed too fast. My tie was not straight. I ran down the stairs and reached the stop just in time to see the bus leave like a long, white ship. I stood there with my chest tight, counting seconds until the next bus arrived. At the office, I opened the meeting room door 10 minutes late and said sorry in a small voice. Sophia raised one eyebrow and continued her sentence. She did not scold me. The silence was enough. That day my body felt heavy. Even coffee could not clean the fog in my head. At lunch, Clara asked what happened. I told her. She nodded slowly. 2 alarms, she said. 1 on your phone. 1 old clock. Also, go to bed a little earlier on busy weeks. Her voice was gentle, not sharp. That evening I walked into a small store and bought a clock with a metal bell. It looked brave. I put on my desk and called it my tiny guard. The next morning it rang like a clean bell, and I smiled before my eyes were open. I moved more slowly. I made tea. I checked my bag twice. I reached the office 10 minutes early and sat by the window. The light on the floor looked like a small lake. By the 3rd week, I felt less like a visitor. At the coffee machine, people made small jokes about the slow elevator or the printer's moods. Sometimes I made a joke too, a simple one, and people laughed in a warm way. A new intern arrived, holding his badge upside down. He looked lost. I showed him how to log in and where to find the share drive. He thanked me with quick words and a shy smile. For the first time, I felt a little older, a little steadier. I was not the newest person anymore. One afternoon, Sophia called me in her office. The room was organized, with a small plant on the shelf and a calendar with quiet colors. "How are you adjusting?" she asked. I told her the truth. "I still feel nervous sometimes," I said, "but I'm learning every day." She nodded. "That's the right direction," she said. "Clear work is better than fast work." Keep that in mind. The sentence stayed with me like a map I could fold and put in my pocket. Money was a steady worry. Rent was high. The bus card ran out quickly. Electricity surprised me with small jumps. I wrote a simple budget every Sunday. Rent, electricity, bus card, groceries, and a small line for savings. The savings line looked like a thin branch, but I kept it there. I cooked lentils, rice, eggs, carrots, onions. I learned to use spices to make simple food feel warm and generous. I made sandwiches at night, so mornings were easier. Sometimes I wanted a new jacket or a nice dinner in a bright place, but I told myself, not yet. I walked instead. The city gave me free shows, a violinist in the subway, a child chasing bubbles, a dog that refused to move because he wanted the park, not home. One Friday, Clara invited me to a movie with colleagues. I checked my budget and hesitated. The ticket was not cheap, but I looked at the small jar where I kept coins and told myself that life needs light, not only walls. I said yes. We sat in a row. We laughed at the funny parts. After the movie, we talked about our favorite scenes. I learned how people here disagreed with kindness. "I liked it," someone said, "but the ending was too quick." Another person said, "The music saved it for me." The talk felt like a soft river. When I reached home, I dropped the change into the jar and listened to the silver sound. Saving was important. Moments were important too. Balance was the lesson that night. Week by week, my English began to feel like a road with fewer holes. In meetings, words came more easily. I started to use short phrases I heard around me. "Sounds good." "Right, I see. Let me check." When David made a joke about the elevator, I answered with a quiet joke about the printer, and people laughed again. That laugh was different from the first weeks. It did not feel like a door I could only look through. It felt like a room I had entered. At home, I practiced reading out loud. I recorded my voice on my phone for 1 minute and listened. It was strange to hear myself, but I heard progress too. The rhythm was smoother. The pauses were nicer. I repeated lines until they felt natural in my mouth. The city outside slowed in the late hours, and the last bus sighed below my window. I leaned on the frame and looked at the tall buildings. I remember my small hometown and the boy who dreamed but did not move. I felt grateful that I took the train, carried the heavy bag, and started this path with small steps. On a bright Friday morning, Sophia gathered the team near the big whiteboard. She spoke about a new project. It needed people who were ready to learn, ready to organize, ready to help others shine. I felt my heart beat faster, as if someone knocked from inside my chest. Doubt whispered, "Are you ready?" I thought about the printer mistake, the missed bus, the tiny guard clock, the blue notebook, the movie night, the careful budget, the presentation that did not break me. I raised my hand. Sophia saw it and smiled. She wrote my name without drama. The room felt larger and kinder at the same time. That evening, the streets were full of light. A drummer played a soft rhythm near the corner. A food truck sent out a friendly smell. A boy ran ahead of his mother and then ran back to touch her hand. I walked slowly and felt no rush. I knew I was no longer only surviving in this city. I was starting to belong. When I reached my apartment, I placed my bag on the chair, opened the window, and let warm air move across the room. I took my blue notebook and wrote one line, said yes. I drew a square next to it and filled it with ink until it was dark and complete. Days after that, The new project began like a quiet engine. We met in a small room with a long table and a window that faced a brick wall. The view was not beautiful, but the light was soft. Our team had 5 people. David managed data. Clara handled communication. I organized schedules and kept notes. 2 designers, Mira and Omar, brought colors and shapes to our ideas. We started with a plan on the whiteboard. Dates, goals, small steps. We argued a little and laughed a little. We learned how to say no to chaos and yes to order. At first, the tasks felt heavy because they were new. I made mistakes and fixed them. I asked questions even when my face grew warm. Sometimes I wrote an email, read it again, and changed the first sentence to be kinder. Sometimes I booked a room and realized I chose the wrong time. So I apologized and fixed it. The team was patient. When I did something well, someone said thanks, and the word was light but strong. It stayed in the air just long enough to change the shape of the day. One afternoon, the projector failed before a small presentation. The screen stayed black. People were waiting. I felt panic touch my neck like cold water. I breathed. I checked the cable. I checked the settings. I restarted the device. Nothing. Then I remembered a simple trick David had used once. I switched the HDMI port. The image appeared. There was a small cheer, not loud but honest. My hands were shaking a little, but my smile was steady. It was a tiny win, but I wrote it in my notebook anyway. We reached the first deadline with work that was not perfect, but was honest. Sophia visited our room and listened to our short report. She asked 2 questions that were simple but wise. We answered. She nodded and said, "Keep your rhythm. Keep your clarity." After she left, we looked at each other with a quiet pride. We were not shining like a trophy, but we were warm like bread just out of the oven. Outside the office, I allowed myself small gifts that did not break my budget. A secondhand book from a street stall, a paper cup of hot chocolate on a cold evening, a bus ride to the river on Sunday to watch the water move under a gray sky. I called my parents and told them simple truths. Work is hard. People are kind. I am learning. I am okay. My mother said my voice sounded older in a good way. My father told me a short joke about a rooster and the sun, and I laughed so hard I had to sit on steps. As weeks turned into a simple chain, I saw how growth hides in small acts. Making the bed in the morning, checking the calendar the night before, filling the water bottle, charging the phone, writing the top 3 tasks for tomorrow, saying thank you before the day ends. None of these actions are big, but together they build a quiet strength that carries you when the bus is late or the printer is angry or the numbers do not speak clearly. One night a storm came without warning. Rain hit the window like 1,000 small hands. The wind made the old building creak. The power went off for 5 seconds and then returned. I lit a candle anyway and turned off the light. The flame made the room smaller and kinder. I listened to the rain and thought about the first day I arrived, about the mirror and the iron shirt and the shaking hands. I smiled in the candlelight. I was not finished with my fears, but they were no longer the driver. They sat in the back seat now, looking out the window, quiet and a little bored. When the first phase of the project ended, we held a small meeting to reflect. We wrote what worked and what did not. We decided to simplify our checklists. We decided to start meetings 5 minutes later so people could arrive without rushing from the elevator. We decided to keep the whiteboard clean and the markers in 1 cup, not 3. These choices were small, but they changed the air in the room. Work felt lighter when order was welcome. On the way home that day, I stopped at the bakery and bought 2 pieces of bread, still warm. The baker wrapped them in brown paper and said, "Careful, it's hot." I carried the bag like a treasure. At home, I cut the bread, put butter on it, and watched it disappear into the soft surface. I ate slowly, eyes closed for a second, and thought, this is what progress tastes like. Simple, warm, real. Time kept moving. I kept showing up. The tiny guard clock kept ringing. The blue notebook kept filling with small squares. The city kept singing in buses and lights and footsteps. I kept my promise to myself, to try, to fail softly, to learn, to stand again, to help when I could, to ask when I did not know, to say yes when a good chance tugged at my sleeve. If you ask me now what changed the most, I would say it was not the city and not the office and not the money, though money learned to walk with me without pulling my arm. The biggest change was inside my voice. It learned to speak when it should and rest when it should. It learned to say, I can try instead of I can't. It learned to say not yet instead of never. And slowly, the voice began to sound like a friend I could trust. Tonight, as I finish this story, the window is open. The air smells like rain has been here and left gifts behind. Somewhere a bus sighs. Somewhere a door closes softly. I place my pen on the desk and look at the small plant with round leaves. It has grown a little since my first day. I have grown a little too. Growth is not loud. It is a quiet worker. It shows up again and again. It makes a life where fear becomes a listener and hope becomes a guide. I turn off the tiny guard clock because tomorrow is Sunday, and I want to wake up when the light touches my wall. I stand for a moment in the calm, and I feel the door to the next week open without noise. I do not rush. I take one small, sure step forward.
Dear English learners, now listen to a real-life job interview scene. The interview is between Sophia, an HR manager, and James, a job candidate. They have already discussed his background, and now the conversation moves to the sensitive but important subject of salary.
Thank you, James. You explained your experience clearly. Now, I'd like to ask about your salary expectations for this position.
Yeah, of course. It's an important question. It's an important topic.
Totally. I just want to see if our budget and your needs are a good match.
That makes sense. I've done some research. For this role in our city, the usual range is around 45 to 50,000 per year.
That is correct, according to our own data. And what would you personally expect?
I believe 48,000 would be fair, based on my skills and the responsibilities you described.
I see. And how did you calculate that?
I compared job postings, salary reports, and also considered the cost of living here. I tried to choose a number that is not too high, but also not too low.
That's a thoughtful answer. Now, let's talk about benefits beyond salary. How important are things like health insurance, vacation days, or training opportunities for you?
They are very important. A good package makes me feel supported, not just paid.
That's a good point. In our company, we offer health insurance, retirement plans, and we support online courses and workshops.
That sounds excellent. I really want to keep learning and growing.
Growth is something we value. If you join us, you will have a budget for professional development.
That is very motivating. Thank you for telling me.
Let me ask something else. Do you prefer a higher fixed salary, or are you open to performance-based bonuses?
I like balance. A stable base salary makes me feel safe, but bonuses add excitement and reward good work.
That's exactly how we see it too. Twice a year, we review performance. If targets are met, employees receive a bonus. How does that sound to you?
It sounds fair. I think it pushes people to do their best.
Some candidates tell us they worry about targets being too high. What do you think?
Targets can be stressful, but if they are realistic, I like them. They give me clear goals.
That's good to hear. And what about salary growth? Do you hope for a raise in the first year?
I know, raises take time. I would be happy with fair evaluation after the first year. If I perform well, I trust the company to reward that.
That's a mature answer. We always link raises to performance.
It makes sense.
Tell me, James, have you ever negotiated salary before?
Yeah, once. I felt nervous, but I explained politely why I thought I deserved a bit more. I used data to support my request.
And what happened?
The company didn't give me the full number I asked for, but they did raise the offer slightly. I was proud I tried.
That's valuable. Many candidates stay silent.
I think it's better to speak honestly.
I agree. In our culture, we encourage open discussion. As long as it is respectful, negotiation is healthy.
That makes me feel more comfortable here.
I also want to know what motivates you besides money.
Learning new skills motivates me. Also, working with a supportive team. Money is important, but respect and growth matter too.
That's wonderful. We want employees who care about more than numbers.
I believe when people feel respected, they give their best.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you, James, for being so open. This helps us understand your expectations clearly.
Thank you as well, Sophia. I really appreciate this transparent conversation.
That's the spirit we value here.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Money and benefits given to someone for the work. Remuneration package. Each year. Per annum. Money that a company provides for rent of a house. Housing allowance. Able to change or to do different things. Flexible. To study or look at something in a careful way. Go through.
Let's try that faster.
To study or look at something in a careful way. Go through. Each year. Per annum. Able to change or to do different things. Flexible. Money and benefits given to someone for the work. Remuneration package. Money that a company provides for rent of a house. Housing allowance.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Housing allowance. This company doesn't offer a housing allowance, but the salary more than makes up for it. Housing allowance. MNCs don't usually offer housing allowance to employees hired locally. Housing allowance. And how much is the housing allowance you offer? Per annum. Molly from HR will have to explain our bonus scheme to you. Per annum. The bonus scheme is designed to reward only the highest achieving employees. Per annum. We will be making some changes to the bonus scheme this year. Flexible. I have a flexible working schedule. Flexible. I'm afraid the company is really not flexible when it comes to working hours. Flexible. When it comes to change, many people are not flexible. Go through. Do you have a few minutes to go through the quarterly report? Go through. I'll ask Angela to go through the new company policy with us. Go through. Brent has already gone through the preliminary information. Remuneration package. Please feel free to help yourself to coffee, tea, or whatever you'd like. Remuneration package. Feel free to interrupt me anytime with questions. Remuneration package. I wish I felt free to speak with my boss on this matter, but I don't know how she'd react.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a very weather-focused lesson. It's all about all the horrible things that can happen to you with the weather.
Exactly. So as you know, there are many different types of weather, and not only rain or sunshine, but many other phenomena. So we're going to take a look at some of those. But before we go into it, let's take a look at one word on Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
Okay, so we're talking about extreme weather today. That's not rain or drizzle or sunshine. We're talking about really interesting, unique, and sometimes devastating things that can happen. So today's vocabulary word is Armageddon.
All right, so Armageddon. Now, you've probably seen the movie Armageddon, so what does this word mean?
Okay, so this word is a reference to the end of the world. It means the time when the world will end because of a great catastrophe or a great disaster.
Okay, so everyone talks about Armageddon. It's mentioned in the Bible. And as you say, it's when the world stops existing.
Exactly. So think about that one as we listen to today's dialogue. We will be back in a minute to talk about what's going on.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob. All right, we're back, and well, this weather report is not really far from the truth. I mean, this kind of stuff happens every day all over the world, right?
That's correct, and unfortunately, it's been happening very frequently in the past couple months. We've heard of a lot of earthquakes and volcanoes and things like that. So this is very valuable stuff when you're trying to talk about current events as well.
Okay. So why don't we start now analyzing a couple of different words and phrases on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first vocabulary item we have here is meteorological event. It's a real mouthful. It's a long word.
Meteorological.
So, for example, meteorological means having to do with the weather, something that's related to the weather. So, a meteorological event could be rain, snow.
Okay, so it has to do with meteorology.
Meteorology is the study of the weather, and someone who does this is a meteorologist.
So usually the weathermen that you see on TV, they're meteorologists.
So let's go now to Marco, our resident meteorologist.
There we go.
Our resident meteorologist.
Right, okay. So meteorological events. Now moving on, one of the first events that we're going to look at is an avalanche.
Avalanche. An avalanche has to do with snow. This means that when a mountain that has a lot of snow on it, maybe part of that snow breaks off and starts to roll down, you have a wall of snow that comes down. That's an avalanche.
That's an avalanche.
So you could say, avalanche. Right. And the snow comes down. And it's actually very dangerous because people can get buried under the snow.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so another event that has to do with snow is a blizzard.
Okay, a blizzard is different from an avalanche because an avalanche, maybe it's not snowing, the snow just falls. But in a blizzard, you're talking about a storm of snow.
But it's like a lot of snow coming down from the sky.
So much snow that you probably can't see anything. There's just white everywhere.
Okay. All right, so that's a blizzard. A lot of snow coming down from the sky. Now, moving on, the opposite of snow and things being wet is we have a drought.
Yeah, this is the opposite of wet, actually. So there's no rain in a drought. A drought means that things are very dry. The land is very dry.
Okay, so it's a period of time that there's no snow, there's no water, there's no rain, there's nothing. It's very, very dry. We're going through a drought.
Correct. And the problem with a drought is very dangerous is because people cannot grow food in a drought. And so lots of people starve when this happens.
Okay, so you got to watch out for a drought. Now, in this case, it not only affected farming, but also we have a hydroelectric power plant that can't work, obviously, because there's no water.
So hydro means water. Hydroelectric means electricity that is generated by flowing water. And so, for example, a mill, something that churns water on a river, is a way to get power from water. But a hydroelectric project that can give you electricity is maybe like a dam or an electric mill.
Right. So usually you have these on rivers and they just take advantage of the flowing of water to turn some huge turbines and generate power. So that's all we have for now. Why don't we listen to the dialogue again, and we'll be back shortly to take a look at some more words.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob.
Well, a word that many people are unfortunately familiar with is Richter or Richter scale. And now this is something that a lot of people are talking about right now because of the earthquake in Sichuan, China last year and the earthquake in Haiti very recently. And so the Richter scale, that's a big R because it's a proper name, is a way for us to determine how severe, how big the earthquake was.
Right, so people talk about a 6.0, a 7.1, so that's on the Richter scale.
The lowest is 0 and the highest is 10, correct?
Right, but 10 is like impossible, apparently.
Apparently, and a lot of them are actually underwater, but the very serious ones are maybe 8.0, 7.0.
All right, so Richter scale. Now, we talked about earthquakes, we talked about snowing. Now, let's talk about a volcano. A volcano in Mexico has erupted.
Okay, so we've got two words here, volcano. A volcano is a mountain that has an opening in the center where lava from the middle of the earth, the center of the earth, can come out. So it's very dangerous, obviously, because it's very hot.
Right.
But a volcano doesn't open, it erupts. So the verb here that we use with a volcano is to erupt.
Okay, so it doesn't explode, a volcano erupts.
That means to open violently, very quickly.
Okay, so when this happens, obviously you have a lot of lava, you have maybe snow that melts, and you have floods and landslides.
Okay, landslides. A landslide is one word, but it's made up of two words that you probably already know. So land, obviously, it's the ground and things like that, the earth. But a slide is to move down across the ground. And so a landslide happens when you've got something like lava or water that's pushing all of the earth, all of the ground down, and it's destroying houses and trees and land, and it's very, very destructive.
Right. So you usually see this that happens on the side of mountains or on the side of hills where all that land starts to slide down or to go down. And it's very similar to an avalanche, right? But instead of snow falling down, it's land.
Mud and land.
Yeah. All right. So we have a landslide. And because of all the eruptions and the earthquakes, they said that they have a lot of seismic activity.
This word seismic is something that I've heard a lot recently in movies like 2012.
Yeah.
So seismic means having to do with the movement of the plates under the Earth's crust. So, you know, the Earth is not everything that we see. It's also activity, things happening underneath the ground.
Right.
And so underneath the ground, we have these big plates, and seismic activity is what happens when these kind of things start to move. Activity is movement. And so seismic activity refers to earthquakes and volcanoes, things that are changing under the ground that will affect us.
Okay. So that's seismic activity. It's pronounced seismic, right?
Seismic, that's correct.
Okay. And because of all this activity, people say that they may have a tsunami.
Well, this doesn't sound very English, does it?
I know, tsunami. And actually, if you see the spelling, it's with a T, T-S.
Right, I think it's a Japanese word, but I'm not positive.
I think so, too.
Tsunami is the name that we give to a giant tidal wave. So that's a wave of water in the ocean that's very, very dangerous because it can get to 100, 200 feet tall. And this means that when it comes down, it can destroy houses, cities, cars, things like that.
Right.
And there was a very, very famous tsunami in Southeast Asia in 2004. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and in Indonesia, right?
That's right, in Indonesia and Thailand and Vietnam.
Yeah, it was intense. It was big. And it was also because of an earthquake, right?
I think so. All these earthquakes, they move the earth around, and then all of a sudden the reaction is that there's water that moves,
This
and the water
huge wave.
then turns into a wave.
Yeah, just imagine what happens if you have a bucket of water and then you start moving the bucket just a little bit, and you see how it just water starts to splat all over the place.
That's right.
All right, so tsunami was our last word for today. Why don't we listen to our dialogue again, and we'll be back shortly.
Those are the headlines for today. And now for the International Weather Report with Mike Sanderson.
Thank you, Bob. This past week has been the beginning of Armageddon for many, as a series of unprecedented meteorological events occurred around the world. In Switzerland, a major avalanche was reported in the Alps. Fortunately, no one was injured. Due to the extreme cold this winter, a blizzard has struck the U.S. Midwest, causing classes in schools and universities to be temporarily canceled. Moving on to Latin America, Ecuador has suffered a 6-month drought that has not only affected farming, but has also forced the closure of the hydroelectric power plant that provides electricity for the entire country. In Chile, a major earthquake that registered 7.5 on the Richter scale struck the southern region. Losses are reported to be in the billions. Authorities have not yet released an official statement.
Not a great week for the world. Any good news?
I'm afraid not, Bob. One of the major volcanoes in Mexico has erupted, causing major floods and landslides in the region. Meanwhile, Mexico's coast has been hit by Hurricane Liliana, and officials say that all the seismic activity leads them to believe that a tsunami may hit Central America, affecting Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama. That's all the news we have for today, but stay tuned for updates on the 6 o'clock news. Back to you, Bob.
So, Marco, these are all pretty terrifying. Have you ever experienced a meteorological event like one of the ones that we talked about today?
I've actually lived it through like 3 earthquakes, like pretty big ones.
Well, that's because you used to live in Los Angeles.
In LA. So we get them all the time in LA. Apart from that, I've seen a volcano erupt a couple of times because, Ecuador is part of the volcano alley, right? Mm-hmm. It's all the Andes mountains and it's part of the circle of fire, what they call. So we have a couple of different active volcanoes, and from time to time they will start to smoke or to spew some lava, but nothing major. Like, there hasn't been a major catastrophe with the volcanoes. Hopefully it won't either.
Well, and these days they have a lot of equipment, seismic equipment and meteorological equipment that can help meteorologists to determine when things will happen, like when a volcano will erupt or if there will be an earthquake, because they can study the tremors in the ground.
Right. Yeah, and I think probably the most famous volcano is, I think it was in Italy, right? Mount Vesuvius.
That's right. So you've got Mount Vesuvius in Naples, which famously destroyed a number of cities in this ancient civilization and ancient
What is a major
Roman
eruption?
times. It was, and what's amazing is that they still have a lot of the buildings
Underground,
under
right?
the ash.
Wow.
Because when all the ash settled, it preserved the bodies like a mummy.
That's
and
crazy.
so you can see the bodies and the things that they, their jewelry and their money. And it's fascinating because it's this horrible, horrible natural disaster actually helped us in the future learn about this old civilization.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Actually, in Ecuador, you can see a huge hole that has like a lake in the middle. And you're like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. But that's actually caused because the entire mountain just kind of blew the top off, like the cone, because of this major eruption. So you can just imagine how powerful these eruptions are. I can just imagine what it would have been like Mount Vesuvius. But anyway, on a brighter note, if you have any questions, any comments, or any stories of your own, maybe you've lived through a typhoon, a hurricane, a tornado, you can come to our website, englishpod.com.
We hope to see you there.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Great snow. Blizzard. A prolonged period of scanty rainfall. Drought. A very big rain and windstorm. Hurricane. A large sea wave produced by an earthquake. Tsunami. Something tech relating to or caused by an earthquake. Seismic activity.
Let's try that faster.
A very big rain and windstorm. Hurricane. A prolonged period of scanty rainfall. Drought. Something tech relating to or caused by an earthquake. Seismic activity. Great snow. Blizzard. A large sea wave produced by an earthquake. Tsunami.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Blizzard.
With the blizzard came strong gusts of wind, freezing temperatures, and near zero visibility because of all the blowing snow.
Blizzard.
The blizzard warning will remain in effect until tomorrow morning, when the winds will die down to about 30 kilometers per hour.
Blizzard.
If you really need to venture out into that blizzard with your car, you are going to have to go at a crawl because of the near whiteout conditions and the danger of drifting.
Drought.
The lack of rain in the spring and the above average temperatures caused a drought in the late summer.
Drought.
We have to start conserving water because of the drought.
Drought.
For about half a decade in the 1930s, the prairies in Canada and the United States experienced a severe drought, during which there were numerous dust storms, and the land became a wasteland.
Hurricane.
Several mudslides occurred in this region shortly after the hurricane passed through.
Hurricane.
North Atlantic hurricanes are formed off the tip of Africa, build as they travel across the Atlantic Ocean, and then finally hit the Caribbean and the southern United States at full force.
Hurricane.
The weather became very calm all of a sudden, and we knew that the eye of the hurricane was passing over us.
Seismic activity.
He measured the earthquakes using a seismograph and noticed the increase in seismic activity.
Seismic activity.
Seismic activity can cause new land masses to form and the destruction of others.
Seismic activity.
The seismic activity caused earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and multiple tsunamis.
Tsunami.
When there is a massive earthquake on the ocean floor, a lot of water is displaced, forming a tsunami as this water travels towards land.
Tsunami.
The Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004 was caused by one of the largest earthquakes ever recorded.
Tsunami.
She looked out over the land, still flooded in areas by water left by the tsunami that had ravaged her home just days before.